Morning, everyone. Hi. Going to get everybody on here before we start our book talk today. But I wanted to do a little commercial for a word from your sponsor about love lattes and holiday tales, why we're getting everybody on here. And it has 25 plus stories with authors who've been guests on our show. Every story has a story.
Good morning.
Hey, I'm just doing a little advertisement. Every story is a winter or holiday themed. Every story has a pet friendly copy shop, and every story has a happily ever after. It's only 99-cent pre-order. So comes out in December. And they're all the authors have been guests on our show. So I'm seeing everybody here. Now we can get the technology to accept it. Yeah. And in theme for love lattes and holiday tales, I have my Christmas themed mug. Hey, Jen.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Okay, my coffee's hot. So we're waiting for one more person before we start our show.
Yeah, let's see.
How's everybody been?
Good. How about yourself? How's the weather by you?
The last couple days have been chilly, but today it seems to be sunny. I think it's going to be in the mid 70s, so it'll be nice today.
Hello. How are you? Everybody's here. No glitches. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Let's get started right away. Good morning, everybody. I'm CJ Warrant, author of dark romantic thrillers, contemporary and male romance. My cohort here is Rochelle Bradley. She's the author of romantic comedies, contemporary, and paranormal romance. Let's welcome our special guests here on Wednesday Coffee and Books today. We have first here is romantasy author Jennifer Daniels. She lives in upstate New York with her husband, son, and very rambunctious husky named Blue. Writing was never part of her radar until her son wanted to write a book. She decided to give it a try, and that is when Opala was born. And it's a first book and part of a series. And then we have our fabulous Mellanie Szereto. Did I say it right?
Szereto.
I always mess it up for some reason. She's a USA best-selling author of over 50 rom-coms and contemporary romance. Her stories often set in small towns with quirky main characters, fun secondary cast, and lots of humor. She enjoys gardening, cooking, and hiking when she isn't writing. Thank you both for joining us today. How is everybody? How's the weather by you guys? That was what we were talking about right before I started the intro.
Yeah, blue skies, no clouds, so that's good.
Yep.
And Chicago, same thing.
Same here.
So what are you guys drinking this morning?
Water.
Coffee.
Did you say coffee or water, Mellanie?
Water.
Oh. After this cup, that's what I'm switching to.
I've got blueberry coffee this morning.
Ooh, that's something a little bit different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have blueberry. It's delicious. It's blueberry strudel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's good.
That sounds good.
Smells really
Flavored
good.
coffees sounds so good. And I've tried. I don't know if my palate's just like the straight up coffee
Black
flavor
coffee, yeah.
with, little bit of sweetness and some cream. Anything outside of that, it's just like
It's more aromatherapy than actual taste. I mean, it just has a little hint of the taste. Now, some of them are better than others. Like there's one that's a Michigan cherry flavor, and it's really good. But you can actually tell, but it's not overpowering, so it's not gross. But this one is just smells good.
I like my my creamers, my flavored creamers. Right now I have pumpkin spice, but I have cinnamon open too, so I kind of just go back and forth.
That is cool. So you both have been on our show before, and we talked about the books at the time. So let's start off with, what have you been working on since the last time you've been on our show? Let's start with you, Jennifer.
Well, I was in an Rochelle and I were in an anthology, Kaleidoscope Hearts, and that was in February. I'm just now releasing the book that was in that. I just released it. It's called Witch Paws. And I'm kind of making a series out of it. Like, the first one was The Witch's Lair, but I'm actually going to change this book, same, colors and stuff, but I'm going to have it with a shop instead. This was the second book.
To follow a theme.
Yeah. And then there's Witchcraft, and the next one's Witch Paws. And it's about a groomer who is in this little section of shops, and her ex walks in the door, and her familiar shushes her for swearing. And the one that I'm getting ready to release is called Don't Exhume Anything.
That sounds cute.
So yeah,
dealing with the dead.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit. It's another small little novella. That was previously also in when we went to Salem last year to Getting Witchy with it, but I've torn the story totally apart and redid the whole thing and made it much longer and changed the name, and yeah.
So let me ask you this, because I think we've all been in the same boat in regards to short stories, putting in an anthology and stuff. And then when you get your rights back, do you have a hard time expanding on it? Does it take you a little while? What is your process? Is how you break it down?
No, I just kind of, when I'm writing it, usually they have to be a certain amount of words, but I am a bullshitter. So I have no problems just adding wherever I want and tearing it apart and
expanding it.
Yeah, like with Witch Paws, which I hope to have the book, but it didn't show up yet. That one I didn't change a lot. I just added a little bit to the scenes, a little bit more to the couple's backstory. With Don't Exhume Anything, I really changed quite a bit on it.
I'm kind of curious about the Exhume book.
It's now that I've written it and I see the mock cover, I want to add so much more, but it's it's all ready to go. So I'm like fighting with myself. Should I add more? Shouldn't I add more? So I don't know. I guess we'll see when it comes out.
Bonus material.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bonus material. What about you, Mellanie? What have you been up to since the last time you've been on our show?
Oh my gosh.
A lot.
Life has been crazy. Let's see. I looked back, and it was February of last year.
Yes.
When I was on. Since then, I've broken my ankle. I had a wall torn out in my house. It's still not done. It's been over a year with a kitchen renovation.
Wow.
In the middle of that, I had to have a new well drilled. Heater.
Wow.
And then there was hail damage from tornadoes in the area in March. And so I have been in the process of getting a new roof, new siding, new gutters, new barn roofs, new window screens. We're all done with that. I'm still waiting on my screens. And I've been writing through all of that.
At least it hasn't stopped the word.
Right. Just gives you more stuff to write about.
It was really hard. The siding project last month was 2 weeks straight, every single day from about 7:30 in the morning until 6 o'clock at night, pounding on the roof or pounding on the walls. I had to take everything off the walls because things were falling. And it was right outside the window.
Same thing happened with me when we did our siding on the house. I was like, oh my God, everything's falling.
Yeah, it's been a crazy project, but let's see, how many stories have I finished? I have been in a bunch of anthologies over the last year. I think 7 or 8 short stories and novellas. It's nice writing short, especially with those distractions, because I don't have to really submerge myself a lot in the story, which is impossible for me because I love to write in the absolute quiet. So
me too. I am the same way.
That's been lots of fun.
So are you?
I did have an anthology release this week. Love and Espresso. It's a coffee shop meet cutes. My story is caramelized. That was
okay. Explain that. What do you mean by caramelized?
Her ex cheated with his ex, and so they decide to fake date when their ex-spouses are trying to get them back.
Oh.
So there's some karma in there.
Caramel. Okay, I get it now.
Not caramel.
So you said your this release was all meet cutes at coffee shops. Were your other anthologies, was there certain criteria that you had to?
The ones that I've all have a certain theme. I have an upcoming Christmas anthology that I'm in. They're typically pretty short. The Christmas ones tend to be under 10K, so they're short stories. The other ones can be short stories to novellas. Not super long. I also did a final review on audio files for an upcoming audiobook. That one is Kazi. That one.
We lost you for a second. We didn't hear what the title was.
Kazi. He is a neurodivergent English professor, and she is a plumber. And it will make you
cry. Wow, what a switch.
I love switching up the gender roles. I do plumbers, electricians, contractors, all of the typical male occupations for my female characters. I love doing that.
And who says that they are the male occupations, right? It's been like that for so long, right?
Yeah.
Women could do it just as good or even better.
Yeah.
Mechanics too,
Right.
Oh, I've done.
My son's a welder, and he has 2 girls that he says are 100% better than the guys are.
And they're meticulous in the details, so.
No kidding. So do you have any unfinished, or are you at current YIPs? Any current works in progress that is coming out this year or next year?
Yes.
You mean non-anthology related?
Non-anthology related. Yes.
Can you specify here?
I am currently working on a shared world Christmas story. The third book in Love on the Menu series that I have been trying to get finished for a couple of years now, but I've just been too busy. That one is called Hot Tamale Nights, and I'll be working.
Can you repeat the title again, please?
Hot Tamale Nights.
Okay. Hot Tamale Nights. I love it.
But I'm also going to be working on finishing the next book in the Nerd Love series, which is what Kamikaze is part of. Comma being COMMA for the English professor. The next one will be Kama Sutra.
Kama Sutra.
Yeah.
Let's
Now,
see.
is this all part of the Nerd and Babe series?
Kamikaze and Kama Sutra are part of Nerd Love series. I do also have a Nerds and Baby series that I finished this year, which was that was all about surprise babies, reverse surprise babies, sperm donor dads. That one was lots of fun.
Oh.
Any questions, Rochelle?
Oh, well, Jen, what do you have up that's coming out?
I have absolutely no idea. I have, it's been a summer for us. In May, my dog took off and took me with her, and I fractured my L1 vertebrae. It was just a compression fracture, but that was like, yeah. My father-in-law had a stroke and passed away, and when we got back from the hospital that day, thank God my niece had come, the toilet had flooded into my son's bedroom, so we've had to rip up all of his carpet, and we're going to have to deal with the rest of that. So it's kind of been same, it's just we got to tear apart his bathroom. It's been a shit show.
Literally.
Oh
my god.
Well, I do have a question regarding the Witch Paws, which I love the series names. They're so cute, and the covers are also very, very cute. Did you expand it, or are you releasing it like roughly the same size that was in the anthology?
It's just a hair bigger. Like, these are the two that I've done so far, and they're not very thick. And yeah, like this one, I'm gonna do Witch Lair because, like, for this one, and I think for the next one that we do for Valentine's Day, it's gonna be Witch Wrench. So yeah, it's like I'm gonna keep expanding in that little world. So, and I didn't realize
the shop's all in the same like strip mall kind of thing where they're all neighbors.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't need to read them together because I think I add a little. I add enough so you can get the characters. I think if you do read them together, it's probably better. But you don't have to.
So are your characters witches, or are they?
That was my question.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
No, that's okay.
Yep. So they're all witches. And like when it started with Witch's Lair, Greta's husband is like a wolf shifter, and he's got like this like construction company that's come in, and it's pretty much his strip mall and Greta's, and they just keep. It started with this tiny little shop, and now it's expanding into these bigger shops because more people are coming to the town, and most of the people in the town have some kind of magic juju going on with them. There are humans, but for the most part, it's a magical kind of town. So
That's awesome.
Where is the town located?
You had to ask.
Anywhere USA?
Well, I figured, because you said it's part of a world and you're building this world, I figured
It is.
if it's established.
I think I put it in Vermont,
Okay.
but I made up like the town and stuff.
Right.
But it's like,
State of-
when you go to those cutesy little towns,
Right.
It's one of those with a mix of supernatural people.
Yeah.
Like in this one, these girls aren't so much witches. I mean, they are, but they're Cupid was their father, so they're cherubs.
Yeah.
So
The covers are
there's a mix.
really cute.
That's a
Covers are really
cute
cute.
story too.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. Let's just talk about a little bit about where we set our stories. Because like Mellanie, you have according to your bio, 50 plus books. How do you keep do you put them a lot in the same town, or do you create new towns, or do you put them in real towns? How do you do that?
I occasionally will use real towns. Almost all of my stories are set in Ohio, since that is where I grew up. Some are fictional. One series, the Homegrown Book Club Cafe. The Homegrown Cafe Book Club, get that in the right order, is set in Wellington, Ohio, which is a real town in northeastern Ohio, not too far from Akron.
Okay. Is that where you grew up, or near there?
It is not. It's close. It's about a half an hour from where I grew up. So I tend to write a lot of stories in Northeast Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that when I started it, it's in Massachusetts, in a little town in Massachusetts. So that's where I set it. And most of the places that I do write about usually are a lot like upstate New York. It's snowy and cold, because I know that. And I'm not a city person, and I don't know much about cities, so most of mine are set.
You tend to write what you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Right? So especially when you're trying to build a world up and you're trying to have the reader kind of fall into that world and just get acclimated and just really familiarize themselves with the story. And I think knowledge, just like any other author would, like research and stuff, you would use that. So most definitely. I mean, for me, when I do research, I mean, I have different books or different areas throughout the United States that I have put in my books, but I'm very familiar, I'm very familiar with the Chicagoland area and the surrounding suburbs up into Wisconsin. So I know the areas quite well, so I would use those scenes.
Right.
Maybe not necessarily, when I write a book, I might turn around and put it in a different state, but I would use a town that I'm familiar with.
Right.
And kind of transplant in there. Do you do that at all? Or do you stay in that realm of the state that you know, or the area that you know?
For me, I had a dream one time about that set off Fortuna, Texas, and it was actually a town in North Carolina that we go to. It's called Blowing Rock, which is a little kind of artsy town, just kind of basically one main street with a bunch of smaller ones off of it. There's a park. There was this really cool toy shop. There's all these little crafty shops, like a candle shop and just souvenir, but they're more not cheesy souvenirs, like more nice
artsy,
ones.
More
artsy. Yeah. So it's just this cute little town, and that entered my my dream, and I had spent a lot of time in Texas. I have family who still live there. Shout out to Vorsha, who's watching, my cousin. And but my grandparents wintered in Brownsville, so I spent a lot of time in Texas or traveling through Texas. And when I created Fortuna, and that's obviously fictional, which you think in Texas there'd be a Fortuna or something, but there isn't. There's other Fortunas in other states, but not in Texas, except for in my world. But I used that dream from North Carolina, that the kind of like the setting of how the it's laid out for my downtown in Fortuna. So they're two very different geographic locations, but I just take the one and plop it down in the other. And then I have a visual in my head so I can keep it straight, which is another thing where, you don't want a moving restaurant or, different,
Right.
because mean, people, it's hard to keep things straight, especially if you have a multiple book series, especially like mine, I have 7 in that series.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping that image in my head is very important.
I use a Bible for all that. So because my brain, I got so much going on in my brain, I have to have a story Bible to make sure I have everything, especially when you're dealing with series. But I have a question for all of you. If you were able to write a story or a series in any other state but the ones that you've been writing in, which state would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Well,
and why?
For me, I think if I would write somewhere else, anywhere, it would probably be, my mom is Canadian, and we used to go to my grandmother's often. And where she lived you could see Parliament Hill from her apartment.
Oh, cool.
And you could always hear the bells chiming, and we'd go and watch the changing of the guards, and
That's cool.
But then you go out the other backside of her, and there was a giant tiger. So it would probably be something there, I think, because I'm familiar with that. Even like when I did Between the Pines, when it started, it was actually down my road. I live in the woods, and down the road, if you keep going, there's a clearing area, and that's where I set it up. The story and the house and stuff. So as far as that's probably where I would make a story if it wasn't around in this area, would be probably there.
Well, I did recently write a story that was partially set in Maine, rural Maine, at a ski resort. I did use Google Maps and Google Earth to kind of get an idea of the area. I use that a lot. That one is G Marks the Spot. That one is out.
I love the titles. Oh,
no kidding.
Oh, that's so catchy.
That one's a fun one. Destination Wedding, Brother's Best Friend, Reverse Age Gap.
Reverse Age Gap.
These sound so fun.
Yeah.
I tend to do a lot of those. I have read so many books with older men and younger women, especially women in their 20s. And so I tend to write main characters who are over 30, usually even older than that. My oldest characters are in their late 50s.
So seasoned romance.
Yes, seasoned
I like
romance.
it. Yes.
And I like to make the women feel empowered, that they can still get the good looking young guy, and not too young though. My biggest age gap is, I think, 10 years.
Well, that's a realistic goal. You don't want to a brat who's still a kid.
Yeah.
You got
Well,
a
I
guy.
mean, unless you're into that type of kink.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's a kink, not necessarily
Well,
an
that's
actual
what I said. I
age.
used that word perfect.
Well, in that 10-year case, he's 40 and she's 50. So at that age,
There's
Not
no.
it's as big a deal. Other locations, I would probably say Colorado.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
I've been to Estes Park several times, and I absolutely love that area.
Very cool. Well, it's that half of the hour, Rochelle.
Oh yeah.
What question?
Well, if any of our listeners have any questions for the authors, please drop them in the comments or use the question feature, and we'd be happy to discuss those. But I've got my box of questions. Well, this one is a good one. Who is your most complicated character?
Let's start off with Jen.
I like complicated to write or complicated as a person?
Complicated.
Either way. Yeah. However you want to answer.
As a complicated person, mine would be when I did Opala, Lindy, because she had a lot of anger. And in each book you can see where she lightens. Complicated person to write, like where I had Lindy was complicated because of herself, the character itself. The character that I'd like had the hardest time writing would be her sister Poppy, because Poppy is very upbeat and happy. I am not an upbeat person. Like, I'm a cranky person. and Lindy is very much, a character like myself. I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care, kind of. And it's not a great way to be, but that's how I am. And Poppy is very much like just a happy-go-lucky person. And when I sat down to write her, I was like, I don't even know how to do this. So I kind of based her off of my niece, who's very kind of outgoing and, just kind and just, they're polar opposites of each other.
What about you, Mellanie?
I would have to say Elijah from Kamikaze. My son is on the autism spectrum, and a lot of Elijah's characteristics and his personality are kind of based on my son. But trying to do justice to an adult on the spectrum really takes some thought and some effort.
What about you, CJ?
Oh my goodness. I say, okay, so the most complicated character I have right now is what I'm currently working on. This one character is just fighting me all the way through. When I first started writing the story, knowing who this character is or was changed as the story progressed, and not in a way that, like growth wise. It's like he's just kind of changing the aspects of who this character actually was. So it's making my writing the story a lot more difficult, but it also changed the story aspects. So for the better, mind you, but I had to go back and redevelop a lot of the story threads, the background story threads, that wasn't what originally started off with. So I would have to say definitely Connor Wilde. He's a drummer for, and this is through my male romance, Rockstar Bodyguard Romance. Connor just is putting me through the ringer right now. So, and usually when I have set myself a goal, I follow through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 2 months behind.
Usually, we as authors, we torture the characters, but this one's getting you.
No. Connor is definitely torturing me. He's giving me a run for my money, and this is the first time ever. So, I mean, I could write a serial killer, a villain with the drop of a hat. You know what I mean? A bubbly person, no problem. Even a morally gray character I can write, but Connor is something altogether. He's driving me nuts. So, but I'm working through it. So he's very complicated.
That drummers go to a beat of a different drum. So
that is so true.
My husband's a drummer, so yeah, I live with that.
Yeah,
he's a complicated, interesting person.
Yeah, they're very. Yeah, he's a very complicated character throughout. So what's the next question?
Well, do you want to know my complicated character?
Not really. No, I'm just joking. Yes, please. I know she's going to hear it later.
I usually say Cole, who is from my Twisted Fortuna Texas series, because he's got a lot of backstory. But now I think I'm going to have to say Vanessa Warsaw. Because she's an identical twin. She's from my series, Learning to Love Again. There's a prequel about her backstory. So she's got an identical twin who plays her. Like in any relationship, she comes in, pretends to be Vanessa, and ruins that relationship, or sleeps with a guy, or just messes it up. She hates her sister, and because of that reason, Vanessa leaves her lifestyle, her very cushy CEO of her family business, which is worldwide, international, and just leaves, like sells her house, doesn't tell anybody, resigns, leaves. And on top of that, she's supposed to get married by the age of 30 in order to inherit the family business, but of course the sister ruins every single relationship. So she has a very complicated and, like, I don't know, there's a lot with her. So she's very, very interesting character. She's also very, has a snarky in her voice, which was very fun to write. So yeah.
No, not snarky.
Yeah, snarky.
I wonder where she gets that from.
Yeah.
Well, creator. All right, let's see what we got here.
What's the next question?
There's duplicates in here. Oh, this is interesting. Who would you take home? Which character, if they were a real person, would you take home to meet your parents?
Ooh.
No.
Let's start with Mellanie. Jen went first the last time, so you go first.
Okay. I would probably take Big Jim Cashone from Makin' Bacon. He is this really sweet guy who is a pig farmer. And he's just this incredibly loyal guy, heart on his sleeve, super, super sweet.
What about you, Jen?
All right.
Here we
I had to go. I had to go and look at my books that I've written. It would be My Happily Ever After, because that character I based off my husband.
Aww.
It was how we met. So it would be him. And for the life of me, I cannot remember his name because I have brain fog. So.
She's more than
That's
But
okay.
I mean, it's written pretty much. When I write, I have to put someone in my head that I know. This is the way I have to do it, and I wanted to write something with him in it, and that's who he is who I would bring home every day,
Yeah.
What about you?
anytime.
What about you, Rochelle?
I was thinking, would it be? Does it have to be a romantic? I think if it's a dude, not I don't have to. I'm like too many to decide from, right? But I think I would bring home Desire Hardman because she's a hoot, and I think we'd have a good old time.
I would say definitely.
Dirty old lady for the win.
Oh yeah, I love her. She's awesome.
I mean, can you imagine the conversation? I mean, no filter.
No kidding.
Trying to get the waiter's pants down by offering him $20. She's a salute.
Let's kind of touch on that just a little bit before we move on. I could picture Desire Hardman in the eyes of Rochelle Bradley when she's in that age group. When she gets to that age group, what she's going to do herself. As her creator. I love it. I love it.
We'll see, because you might be in the home next to me.
Yes. So my next question is, when is your next release coming out? Is it this year, next year, and what book will it be?
Ooh,
It doesn't matter. Let's say Jen.
Mine's going to be Don't Exhume Anything, and I would like to get it out before the end of October.
What's the trope on it?
It is a pretty much fantasy romance with a little bit of death. Does it have dragons? Does it have witches? Does it have? They're witches. Witches, yeah.
Okay.
Is it like a necromancer kind of thing?
No, kind of. Pretty much the story is someone has been and I started writing this before my father-in-law passed away, and then after I wrote it, I was like, holy crap, this is so bizarre. The cemetery, in the witch community, someone is trying to dig up graves, and it started with them, vandalizing, and it just kind of escalated from there, and this group has to go in to figure out who's doing it and why.
So is there more fantasy aspects of it, or is there equal amount of romance?
More fantasy, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like who's done it type of thing, and how to stop the vandalism.
And it's a old flame that comes into the mix. So yeah.
So like a second chance romance aspect.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So that's the main trope of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Mellanie?
The next one on the schedule is October 22nd, and it is an anthology release. It's Let's Get Naughty, Volume 3. I have the third story in a series. I've been in each of those and all 3 volumes. And so this one takes us back to Two Forks Hollow, and more characters from that fictional small town. It is mistletoe miscalculation with second chances, high school sweethearts. He left town right after graduation with no warning.
Wow.
And it's 20 years later.
Wow. That's a lot of past.
They have some baggage. Not including the baggage that they're taking on their trip. She's headed out of town and he's headed into town, and then he was her.
Wow. Now that's a conflict, definitely.
Yes.
Most definitely. Most definitely. What about you, Rochelle? What do you have coming up?
I've got a release in November. It's in conjunction with an event I'm going on. I'm part of their anthology. It's called The Cozy Chronicles. And I and a bunch of other authors are in it. I don't know how many exactly because they don't list anybody except for the people who are putting it on. There will be paperbacks at the event, and that's what they say it's mostly for. But it is available online. And it's a first in my Murphy Brothers series. I've expanded the story. And it's basically Murphy's Law collides with a charm family bracelet. A charm will fall off in the presence of the soulmate. So Murphy's Law and this charm bracelet work together to create havoc and make Christy's life hell in that particular story. It's just romantic. It's one thing after another. I enjoyed torturing the poor child there. And then in December, for this one, I have Murphy's Pause, which is the part 2 in the Murphy Brothers series, and it's also Christy's friend borrows her charm bracelet, and again Murphy's Law intervenes and makes for a chaotic morning at the coffee shop. So I love torturing my characters, but that one is coming out December 10th. So 2 pretty much a month apart. So, and they're both sequential stories, so that's good.
So yeah, I'm the same way. I have a launch for Beyond the Sticks, my tortured character that won't leave me alone.
You better get it done, girl.
Oh yeah, I'm almost done. It's just anyway. So that is part of Road to Rocktoberfest. T.L. Travis's Road to Rocktoberfest. This is the second season I've been a part of, and I love it. So if I continue on, I will be doing 5 books in that series, and that's coming out November 12th. And then I'm part of an anthology, which is part of the Wednesday Coffee and Books, which is Love Lattes and Holiday Tales. And I have there you go. I have a story under CJ Barlow. It's a male-male romance. It's a first book in a Bear Shifters. I've always wanted to do shifters, so I jumped in and I tried it, and I kind of like fell in love with the characters. So I definitely have an expanded story for it. So once I get my rights back and stuff, and then. In the same anthology, Rochelle and I are co-writing a 0.5 story in the Boba Book Babes mystery series. So it is holiday glamping, and it has a little touch of Sam, which is one of the girls, and her love life. So it was a lot of fun to write. We finished it, and it was in the hands of the editor, and we just got it back, and we just need to edit.
Yeah,
we got it. It's done. And then I have a slew coming out next year, but I don't have the dates, and I don't want to say now because I will jinx myself.
Yes.
So I
know the feeling.
Isn't that, it's like, it's working itself out. I'm like, I did not want to say anything after that.
Well, and it's interesting to get in these anthologies, not because I never used to think I could write like a shorter story. I love the long story, right? Because you can explain a lot, create the world, all this stuff. But the anthologies are fun because you get a little taste, especially if they have a theme that you don't normally write. So it's kind of fun to just have that variety. Also, you're not stuck in that world, because I know that sometimes, we're writing the fourth or whatever, and even though we love the world, we love the characters, it can get a little tedious, and you're like, I just want a vacation from this town. I just want a vacation from this couple. And then so the anthologies are nice, but at the same time, they're not a big chunk. And so then when we get the rights back, it's like I don't always have the time to expand it, or I always, I want to write the next story. You know what I mean? So how do you decide as an author to expand it, or do you move on? How do you make that choice? Mellanie, I'm gonna hit you up there.
So typically with the shorter word count, the writing has to be super tight. I really like writing that way. Most of the time I don't expand. I might add an epilogue or a bonus scene or something like that. But typically, if it's a standalone, I just
leave it as is.
Yeah, I leave it as is. Especially if the story is complete. If it feels complete to me, then in my mind, it's done.
Okay. Well, that works. What
What
about you,
Jen?
What was the question again? Totally just blank.
How do you when you do an anthology, do you like to expand your work, or do you just complete?
Oh, yes.
How do you make the choice?
For me, I think it's just where the story takes me. I find that I write much shorter books. They're much smaller. They're not, huge. And I like writing like that. And usually when I expand, it's just, I often go by like what someone may have said in a review. Like, I wish they'd have added more. I wish they would have explained more about this. And just having that little bit makes me be like, oh, okay, I got it. And, I can go from there. It's when that constructive criticism, I don't mind. And that's usually what I would do. But that's what I do.
Right. What about you, CJ? Because I know you say you want to expand.
Yes. So the first book in this series in the Love Lattes, it's called Holiday Mate, and that's the first book. And I also write kind of very tight, but I kind of leave it at the point where I can expand. So in that book, being that it's shifters and you're talking about fated mates and stuff like that, I left it where they meet, they converge on each other without having sex, no sex involved, maybe a kiss or two. But I leave it to the point where if I choose to expand it, I can, which I want to, because, this is going to develop into a much bigger world. So for me, I like writing the short anthologies, but this past year was a doozy. I wrote a lot, and it kind of put away my other projects to the side. So, but I do like writing, like you said, writing new stories outside the boundaries. And this is, to me, outside the boundaries of my normal realm of dark romantic thrillers that I write under CJ Warrant. So I use my other pen name, CJ Barlow, and expand on that. So I have an anthology that I'm going to be a part of next year in October. And it's up to 10K. So that's not a much meatier than the 5. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could put a little more details into it. And I kind of like that. I really do. I like that. Well, so I definitely would expand.
For me, I guess for it just depends on the story and how it feels. Like when I go to publish it on its own, or if I just do an ebook or whatever. I'm like Mellanie. I will add a scene or some kind. If it depends on how it feels. Now with the Murphy's Law series, I have actually had it published in a small anthology before, but it was only 5,000 words, and so with this one it was 10,000, and to me it felt incomplete, and so I was able to complete the story that what I was wanting to make it more satisfying, because it just kind of ended and I didn't like how it ended, even though it was like an end of a scene or whatever. It just wasn't satisfying for me. But from a lot of the anthologies that I've done that I haven't really added a ton, I have added a whole chapter and an epilogue kind of thing, just to we give more depth to the characters and the story.
Most definitely.
So,
Most definitely.
what do you like as far as anthologies go, word count wise? Do you like a 7,000, 5,000, 10,000? What's your favorite, or does it matter? It's more of a theme thing.
I definitely like it more than 5. I'm like between 8 and 10. I think I like, maybe.
Okay.
I think it really depends on the genre. I find with I can write a 5K, or I can write a 10K, or I can write 60K. I think with a world that needs developing, where it's paranormal, fantasy, those genres, I think you need that higher word count to
I agree.
really get into the story.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I really do like writing the short ones. I have currently, I think 14 or 15 short stories that I price at 99 cents. So if a new reader sees me, they can grab a 99-cent story and see if they like my writing style, like my voice.
Right.
I have
little.
I have a few that are actually free. So if they sign up for my newsletter, they are able to get a free one. So yeah, because it's I don't post it on Amazon or anything like that. So they would have to go through my website to do that. So it works. Well, it's almost that time of the hour. Please, what we have, tell us where we can find your books, where we could find you on social media, your readers groups. Jen?
I do not use a newsletter all that much, so pretty much you can find me on either Facebook, Jennifer Daniels Author, or you can do Jennifer Daniels -author. It's 2 different ones. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all those. You can find my books on Amazon, and all of the platforms.
The places.
All places, yes. And if you are interested, I'm going to be at a signing next weekend with Getting Witchy with It. And I'll be there with my goods. So
Go see her. That is in Salem area.
Yes. Yep.
What about you, Mellanie?
I have a newsletter. I'm on Facebook. I have a profile and a page. I have a reader group. The reader group is Worth the Wait, seasoned romance readers. And we actually have a one-day party coming up later this month on the 21st. You can find all my books and everything that's coming soon, all the links and information on my website, www.melliesereto.com. And yes, I do have to spell that.
I gotta respell it too.
I will be in Lexington, Kentucky this weekend for Lexington Legendary Book Bash book signing, and I will be in Pittsburgh at the end of the month for Authors in the Steel City, and I will be in Huntington, West Virginia in November for
Rebels.
Rebels and Readers author event.
That's awesome. For me, I am, and I just totally went. You can find my books worldwide, both under CJ Warrant and CJ Barlow. I have an event actually coming up this weekend in Milwaukee, Wisconsin is RomanceCon. It is a big event, so I hope to see you there, table 306. I'm doing a lot of giveaways and stuff. So I do have a readers group. It's CJ's Coven or CJ Barlow's MM Romance Clan. On Facebook. I'm on all social platforms, and that's it. What about you, Rochelle?
Well, I've got, you can find me on rochellebradley.com. I have a links page there, which you find all the socials. Yes. Obviously, if you click on my Rochelle Bradley on Instagram, I have a link tree. You can find all the things. I will be in Centerville, Ohio for their Fall Fest, which has 3,000 pumpkins for people, and it's got bands, and it's a kind of a fun fall event, Oktoberfest beer tasting and vendor fair. So I will be one of the vendors. Come out and see me. It's going to be kind of an all-day thing. And I will also be in Miamisburg, Ohio, for the Cozy and Bookish event. You can follow them on their social, which is on here, and also they have a Facebook page. But it's a 2-day. They have vendors. It's all bookish things, so very specific. For our readers, it's going to be a fun time. And let's see, where else will I be? No, I'm trying to think. I think I'm going to do a holiday thing in our local little town, but they haven't set that up yet. So, but next year I've got a whole bunch of venues I'm going to be heading to. If you go to rochellebradley.com, I have an event page. It has all my stuff coming up for next year, and also in 26 already. There's things. So, but my books are wide, so you can find them on Amazon and Apple and Kobo and all the places.
All right.
All places.
Thank you, authors, for joining us. It was a fabulous time. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Mary.
Well,
Thanks for having us.
thank you for having me.
Yes. Sassy.